Let's unbox the Funko Pop Vinyl Deluxe figure of Grogu using the Force. Villa Varricino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Villa Varricino. Funko has released quite a few versions of Grogu in their Pop Vinyl line, and I'm not necessarily that interested in collecting up all the different variations, but one that really did catch my eye was this one of Grogu using the Force from that fantastic episode in season 2 of The Mandalorian, The Tragedy, where they go to Tython and use the Seeing Stone. I think this is a really good idea to reinterpret Grogu in a slightly different way compared to all of those other standard versions, and because this one has some electronic features, I really want to get it out of the packaging and test out those lights and sounds. I don't actually have too many Star Wars Funko Pop vinyls that do have those added effects, so I'm really excited to see this one in person. I really want to get this one out of the box. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, I'll take a closer look at this Funko Pop vinyl out of the box. We'll go over all of the details and cool features, but first, let's take one last look at the packaging. With many Funko Pop Vinyl Deluxe figures, I often find that there is a lot of space around the figure, a bit of sort of extra size to the box that's not really necessary when we look inside and see the scale of the figure. Not with this one though. The detail on the base extends almost to the sides of the outer box here, so I really don't mind this one being a deluxe figure. We've got just a single Funko character, but of course we've got this big, large sculpted base, which does contain electronics, so I totally understand this particular single character being in a deluxe box with a deluxe price tag. We have a really nice big window here at the front that wraps around on both sides there. We've got the Funko Pop Vinyl logo here at the top, and the name for this particular one is Grogu Using the Force, number 485. Of course, we can see that this is from the Mandalorian series. A lot of merchandising for the Mandalorian series tends to use a mustard or orangey toned color accent. We can see that in the striping here across the front. We've got the Star Wars logo here at the front. Interesting that we don't actually see the Mandalorian series pictured here on the front either. On the top we have another nice big plastic window there, so we get a lot of light. Really nice if you like to keep yours in the box there. And just behind Grogu in the back we can see the Mudhorn signet, which of course is very prominent in the Mandalorian show there. Moving on, we can see that we have that accent color here on the left side with the number there and the Funko Pop Vinyl logo. And on the other side, we again have the logo and the character name Grogu Using the Force and the number there. The back is a little bit more interesting than the sides. We've got a nice clear image there of the Funko design where we can see Grogu meditating on the Tython Seeing Stone with the name Grogu Using the Force, and some of the other Funko Pop Vinyls standard figures that were alongside this one in this particular release, all from The Mandalorian. Lots of great characters. Still trying to collect up as many as I can. But here on the back, we also have the Mandalorian series logo, of course, reiterating that these are all from the Mandalorian series. So on the underside, pretty boring, just barcode and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of interesting that most of the packaging that I can see here doesn't really mention the fact that it has lights and sounds and batteries. I'm kind of hoping that there'll be perhaps a little bit of an instruction booklet or something like that, something that's really clear about how those functions will work. So let's get stuck in and open it up. As always, I'm going to open up my Funko box from the underside. Just going to get my finger in there. Oh, it looks like there's a bit of a piece of paper tucked in here. Wow, okay. That's actually a pretty sizable booklet. I'll have a quick look at that in a moment. But let's get this plastic tray out here. Always going to make a bit of a noise. And then we can see that signet symbol there that was tucked in behind the figure. As usual, we've got a big clear plastic tray. We're going to pop that open so we can pull Grogu out. He looks so cute, and of course we can see that bubble head. And just taking a quick look, we can see that we've got an on-off switch, a battery compartment, and a speaker. and a lot of text there because of course this is a battery operated thing. It's got to adhere to safety regulations. He looks so cute. This looks really fun, and I can more clearly see the translucent plastic used behind the sort of ancient text section here. Okay, let's clear the packaging out of the way and check out the features. With the packaging out of the way, I just want to take a quick look at that included booklet here. It says that this is for ages 3 and up, all of that kind of safety information. It says that it requires 2 AAA batteries that are included, all the kind of safety stuff there. It is repeated in a lot of different languages. There's a lot of text here, and we can see that there is a diagram on how to replace the batteries. So no worries if you do enjoy pressing the button on this particular toy a lot, you're worried about using the batteries up, you can change them out. AAAs are pretty standard batteries for most people. That's really fun. I'm just going to pop this away now because of course I want to take a look at the actual Funko. This is really cute. He's got such a sort of a vibrant green, looks a little bright on the camera screen, but he's just a really neat color in person here. Of course he is a bobblehead. Now if you've got a big Funko collection, you know that sometimes the neck placement can be a little bit higher or perhaps a little bit more twisted. I can actually see the sort of the poster there with a little bit of that spring on the underside. Sometimes that bothers me. Sometimes I don't mind it too much. For this one, I don't think I mind it too bad because I kind of like the fact that he can bobble his head. I feel like if his head was tucked down, sort of tucked in there, his head wouldn't bobble very much at all. So I understand why it's perhaps a little bit more raised because of course he's got this sort of big sort of collar from his little sort of jacket that he's got here. So yes, I like that he can sort of bobble his head. Of course, the Funko Star Wars pop vinyls are bobble heads. Not all of them are for other lines, but for Star Wars they are, and I really like that I can get a really good wobble. His big ears really kind of exaggerate it. And it's kind of interesting to have a Grogu Funko Pop vinyl that has his eyes closed because of course Grogu's large eyes work so well in the Funko Pop vinyl range. It's kind of funny to see that feature not really on one of their designs, but I really like the way that he looks so serene. And of course, to tie in with that, we've even got his little hands kind of doing the sort of pinching with his sort of meditation that he is doing in the Force. We've even got that replicated here very nicely with his little hands. I really like the sculpting. We can kind of see that if we could see his legs, we could see they look more like in a cross-legged position there. Very meditative. It sort of makes me want to sit down and do some yoga meditation looking at this. It's really cute. He's attached really well. We can see some of that detail coming around here. We've even got a lovely texture and a sort of fabric drape lines here with the sculpting, and of course that kind of texture for his collar and around the cuffs of his sleeves. And it's really nicely and sort of quite tightly attached to the base here as well. He doesn't come off, he is attached. I imagine there's probably a fair amount of glue on the underside here as well. Overall, that Grogu figure is really nice. Not too much in the way of paint. We've just got a little bit in his hands. We've maybe just got like a tiny little dot or two misaligned there. I like the airbrushing of the pink in his ears. Really nice. So moving on to the base. Now some deluxe figures have really simple bases that I don't think quite match the price point of a deluxe figure, but this one is really different. This one is a big base. We can see how wide it is, especially if we consider the standard little black simple round bases for a standard single figure. And of course we've got the electronic component, but I just want to check out the sculpting here. I like the paint work and the sculpting. So we've got the sort of little scratches and things like that because of course it is a natural stone. It's sort of sculpted in this round bit. I've got a little bit of sort of like a watermark running down here, but I don't mind that too much. It's kind of blending in a little bit with all of the sort of weathering. I like that there is sort of like a wash to really highlight these sort of natural indentations in the rock there. I know that that might be a little bit of a sort of seen as a flaw by some collectors, but I think with my experience with Funko, I'm starting to really figure out that it's very hard to find ones that are painted perfectly. There's always some little tiny thing. Of course, they mass produce a lot of them. I like the grass. This looks like this is sculpted in separate green plastic pieces that are then attached, so you get a really nice defined sculpting line. And of course, there's no paint because it's sculpted in this green, so it's really nice and tidy. We've got a shorter one here at the front, larger one here, and a couple of smaller ones here as well. Those all look really nice, a little bit of foliage there. And we have that raised style of a Star Wars logo here at the front. I'm always a little bit curious. Sometimes deluxe figures have the sort of raised plaque that's flat with the silver Star Wars logo that we see on the standard figures, and sometimes they have the raised one. For this one, I can understand why it is a raised one, because this is going to be the button. I can see that wiggling, so you're going to want to press it. So if that had the printed Star Wars logo, that might wear off and look a little bit more sad over time. Because this one is unpainted, it's probably going to stand up to being pressed a lot. We just have that raised plastic there that looks like a pretty good color match to the surrounding sort of border part there. And then we can see we have this blue translucent plastic insert running around here, which I'm sure is going to look really cool when I switch it on and we get that light effect. And we can see the sort of ancient text painted on over the top. That looks pretty cool. It goes all the way around. Really nice. I'm sure someone has translated what this means, but it's not standard Aurebesh, so I'm afraid I don't know if this actually reads to anything there. Very cool. So on the underside, I can see that we have an on-off switch. It is currently in the off position. That's how it was in the box. We've got a open-close section for the batteries with a simple screwdriver, just one screw there, and we've got a speaker here as well. We can see that all of that sort of safety information is stamped there on the underside because, of course, it does contain batteries. So I'm going to switch it on. So it doesn't do anything when I just switch that on as I expected, but let's press the button. I'm going to just pop it down on the desk. I know that might affect the volume of the sound effects, but let's see how this looks. Okay, so that's actually quite loud. And the lighting effects, I've got lights on, so it is a little bit more minimal. I'll do it a little bit closer up. So you can see that there's more of a central light in there. It's not sort of running all the way around. When I look in really close, I can kind of see that there's a central light inside that's kind of illuminating through it. But it looks a little bit more central when I'm looking at it close up. And that's quite a loud sound in there, even when it's flat on the desk. It's not as, shall I say, peaceful. It doesn't sort of make me think of meditation. It's got a little bit of sort of a metallic sort of twang to the end there. But I do think this is kind of fun. It was such a sort of momentous moment in this series. I like that they captured it in this. They captured so many tiny sort of little moments with Grogu, with butterflies and little blue cookies and all of that kind of stuff. But this one I think was so important to the storyline and was such a cool set piece. I really like it being interpreted in a Funko Pop vinyl design. I don't know that we'll ever see something like this from one of the Hasbro action figure lines. It's such a small accessory. I would love to see something like this because Grogu by himself is very small. He tends to get packaged in with other characters. Sometimes you just want a few more deluxe accessories with the character himself. So really keen to see how bright this is if I turn off all my lights. Perhaps you want to sort of turn off all of your collection room lights and just sort of see how bright this one is. So let's see it in the dark. So yes, it looks much better under natural, just room lighting, as you can see, compared to when I've got my studio lights on. And of course, it looks really cool if you're in complete darkness. It's actually really bright. So that's really fun to see. Overall, this is really cute. I love the sculpting on the face, the meditative pose, and of course, just having that little extra. Of course, this would look really cool even without the electronics and stuff like that, but just kind of having that 4 force effect in there, I think is really fun. I'm probably going to get quite fond of pressing this and lighting it up every time I walk by it on my display shelf. I think it's really cute that he bubbles as well, even if I can see that attachment stalk there on the underside. I generally don't like seeing it, but if it does actually help the character bubble because of the sculpting, then I will give it a pass, so I don't mind it, especially when I look straight at it. If I'm looking top down, I can see that a lot more, but I really like this one. Looks really, really cute. Again, another example of ones that I think look a lot better out of the box because of those features and of course the bobble head and everything like that. Generally with the deluxe ones, I like getting out of their boxes just because the boxes are so big and there's just all that extra, slightly unnecessary sort of air around the figures. This one is very tight in the box, so it's not for that reason. This one I just think because there are features that you cannot activate when it's in its box, I think this one just looks really, really cool. Just that tiny sort of little paint blibble there on the front there going off to the side. But again, because this is kind of a natural rock, I don't really mind it. Normally I'm a little bit picky when it comes to Funko paint jobs, but this one's off to the side. I don't mind it. This one was really popular for us locally. I didn't spot this one in the store very many times, so I'm really glad to be able to add this one to my collection. I really like that episode of The Mandalorian. I think this particular part in particular was just such a favorite. I love Tython. I love it because it appears as one of the Jedi homeworlds in one of my favorite Star Wars video games, Star Wars The Old Republic. It's where the Jedi characters start their storyline on Tython. There is a Jedi temple there, and it was just really exciting seeing Tython visited and so featured in a modern live action Star Wars show. So I love having just a little bit of Tython as part of my Funko Pop vinyl collection. So there you go. I love this one. I kind of want multiples to put around in different parts of the house. It's very serene. I really like it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Funko Star Wars collectible and had a lot of fun checking out the features. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Funko fan, I recently unboxed the Bo-Katan Kryze on the Throne deluxe figure. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as a whole Funko unboxing playlist. This is the way.